Culture shock in Germany school edition check! Hi everyone! After I did my last video about things I wish I knew before going on exchange, I feel like I want to share my experience of experiencing culture shock while studying in Germany because I experienced lots of differences between how things work in Germany and how things work in Indonesia. In this video, I will be specifically talk about school things, like literally things that happen in the classes. So, okay, without getting any longer in opening this video, let's just go to the first culture shock. Class attendance. Okay, before getting into the culture shock, I will explain how things work in Indonesia first, so you will get the whole image on why I feel the culture shock. In every school and university in Indonesia, or at least that's what I know so far, class attendance is a very crucial thing. In my university, we must attend at least 80% of all the meetings of each class and 100% in the practicum class. The attendance in class is proven by a signature on the attendance book or scanning a QR code. And if we don't attend a class for more than 3 times, we won't get a permission to take the final exam, which will really affect our final grade. A friend of mine got a D on one class because he didn't attend a class for more than 3 times, so it's real, people. And we also have another rule which governs the tolerance for late class attendance. It usually depends on the whole class agreement, but it's usually around 15 minutes. For some teachers, if someone is late for more than 15 minutes, they won't be allowed to join the class. But there are also some other teachers that allow people to join the class, but they will be considered as absent or they will get an extra assignment. And both terms means that they already use one of the 3 chances to miss the class. Regarding to the class itself, there are some times that the class ends after the appointed hours. The normal ones are around 5 to 10 minutes, but there are also some times that the class ends 30 minutes after the appointed hour because the teacher wants everyone to finish their presentation or do other things because next week we'll have different things to discuss about, and as students with Eastern blood, we sometimes feel awkward to tell teachers that the class should have been over. Sometimes we just complain on our group chat and just wait till the class over, or if someone is brave enough, they will raise their hand and tell the teacher that the class should have been over. But that rarely happens. Yeah, Eastern with their reluctance. Okay, so if you're not Indonesian and you have studied in Germany, you probably already know what I'm going to say in this video. So I took 6 classes on my exchange semester. I should have taken 7, so I could transfer all of my credits without taking any extra classes when I got back in Indonesia. But there wasn't a class that is similar to the one that I have to take in Indonesia, so I only took 6 classes. So from those 6 classes, 2 of them are the regular class. The majority of the class are the local students and there are some international students. And the remaining 4 classes are for international students. I don't remember all of the class rules because they were different from one class to another. But I remember that in some classes, attending the class wasn't mandatory. Well, of course, we didn't have a written rule saying that it's not mandatory to attend a class, but from what I observed, there are some people, local and international, that I rarely seen in the class. But they were there during the midterm and final exam, and I was like, how could they know what's being tested? And then one time, regardless of how people study, I asked a friend of mine who is a real student in Germany, I mean not an exchange one, and he said that, why should you attend the class when you don't want to? Or when you have something more important to do. He said that time is money, so it would be such a waste if you just sit in the class without paying any attention. So it's better when you study outside the class if you don't enjoy being in the class, rather than just sit in the class without paying any attention because it would be such a waste of time. And regarding to the tolerance of being late to attend a class, I don't think there is such thing as that. Well, at least in some classes, and because I came from a university that has 15 minutes of tolerance of coming late, I was so nervous when I came more than 15 minutes, and usually me and my friends argue about who should knock first and who should get into the class first. But then I saw the other students, both local and international, who came late, like super late, and they casually just walk into the class with their bags in their hands and just sit without looking nervous at all. And I don't know, even though I already saw lots of people who came late when I was in Germany and they just casually walk into the class like nothing happened, I still couldn't walk naturally without feeling nervous when I was late, because I felt like if I came late into the class, I'm not being respectful to the teacher and it could distract the teacher when they were teaching. So yeah. And this also happened when the class wasn't over yet, but according to the schedule, the class should have been over. Some people just casually walk out of the class with their bags in their hands, even though the door is in front of the class, which means the whole class and the teacher will definitely see them going out of the class. And I was like, I don't know, I personally think that it's kind of rude, especially when they don't tell the teacher that they have something urgent to do, or just saying that they want to leave the class. Because, you know, the teacher, even though the class should have been over, the teacher is still there and saying some things, explaining some things. And, you know, if you just walk out of class, it's kind of rude, in my opinion. But of course, according to the schedule, the class should have been over at that time. So I also think that people do have rights to just leave the classroom, but I don't know. Okay, one last thing about the class attendance. There was a class which big project of the whole semester is like being a consultant of a company. It was a small company, but it wasn't that small. And on the midterm and final, we have to do a group presentation to the teacher and the CEO of the company. So during the semester, each group must have a weekly meeting outside the class schedule to discuss about this project. And there was one time on a regular class, very few students attended the class. I think it's around 10 or less students in the class, but I don't know, I'm not sure. And the teacher said that the rest of the class were having a group meeting to discuss the project, so they didn't attend the class. And I was like, what? How come can the teacher be so casual when most of his students are not in the class? And I think this won't ever happen in my home university or in my country, because you know, if you want to do a group discussion about one class, you have to do it outside the class schedule. Because besides doing the project, you also have an obligation to attend the class. And I don't know, I think it would hurt the teacher's feeling when half of the class, like less than half of the class, is not there. I don't know why the teacher could tell that information to the class as if it's a normal thing. Okay, I think I've explained a lot of things about the class attendance, so let's just go to the second culture shock, which is scoring system. So as I explained before, class attendance affects the scoring system in Indonesia. It usually contributes around 10% to the final grade. Another aspect that affects the final grade is being active in class. It can be from asking questions or answering questions. So before asking questions or answering questions in Indonesia, in my home university, we usually tell our name and our student number so the teacher can write it down on their note for our activeness score. To be honest, I sometimes ask questions that I don't really care what the answer will be, just to get an extra point on it. I mean, I'm fully aware that it's not good, but the tense when people are being active and saying their names and their student numbers is real. So I feel like I should do it too, even though I don't care what I'm going to say or what the answer will be. Yeah, that's a bad thing, but yeah. But when I was in Germany, these aspects don't affect anything at all. So in some classes, attending all of the meetings and being active in class don't affect our final score at all. And this really makes me comfortable and relaxed when I'm in class. I listen to the teacher seriously and don't feel any pressure to ask questions when my other classmates ask questions. And finally, after a long time, I feel like I really want to ask questions because I'm curious about something and not to get an extra score or anything. and it turned out to be a fun discussion between the teacher and I, and also the other students. Anyway, back to how things work in Germany. Because I spent the last 4 semesters with this system, I kind of feel like, don't they really count the activeness and attendance to the final grade? So me and my other friends from Indonesia almost always attended the class and tried to be active, hoping that it would affect our final grade. But there was one class that the score was purely graded based on our final presentation, and I kind of messed it up because of lack of preparation. But I kind of feel confident that my score won't be that bad because I was being active in everything else. But when the transcript came out, my score for that class was really bad. I mean, it's not that bad, but compared to the other grades, this one is the worst grade that I got. And because I was shocked by the score that I got, I even sent an email to the teacher asking for the scoring system. And I told him that I was really active in that class and blah blah blah, and he said that the score was purely from the final presentation and one other aspect that he frequently talked about in the class. And one last thing that kind of shocked me about the scoring system is when the teacher really says that the scoring system would be purely from the final exam, I actually experienced seeing a person that I've never seen on the final exam. Okay, the last culture shock while studying in Germany is the grading system. The grading system in Germany is literally the opposite of Indonesia's. In Indonesia, 4.0 is the perfect GPA, and in Germany, the perfect GPA is 1.0, and 4.0 means that you get the worst score, and 5.0 means that you failed the class. This kind of confused me at first because when you get a really good score in Germany, it actually means that you get a really bad one in Indonesia. But despite the confusion in the grading system, the grading range in Germany actually gave me a pretty good score in Indonesia. I mean, when I transferred my credit to my home university, because when I got 2.2 in Germany, I still got an AB or 3.5 out of 4 in Indonesia. Okay, those are the culture shock that I experienced during my study in Germany. I don't remember all of the culture shock because I did my exchange program last year, so it has been a year since I experienced the actual culture shock. And those 3 are the ones that really make me feel culture shocked. And in my next video, I will still be talking about the other culture shock that I experienced in Germany, but from the general things that happen in Germany. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, so you won't miss my next video. See you later, bye bye!